A GMA medical alert with a warning about the subject matter. We had read that there was an alarming increase in a kind of oral cancer in this country, cancer of the tongue, cancer of the tonsils. We'd all heard that human papilloma virus, or HPV, can lead to cervical cancer, but now it has also been linked to oral cancer. The virus can be transmitted through oral sex. Dr. Timothy Johnson is standing by to answer our questions, but first we want you to meet a woman who said she made a startling discovery.
I'm a mom, I'm a waitress, I'm just your average person. Pretty much, that's, girl next door, I guess.
4 years ago, at age 38, Teresa Dillon had what seemed to be your average sore throat. It turned out to be stage 2 cancer on her tonsil. But for Teresa, that wasn't the most surprising part.
It was a virus that caused my tumor, the HPV virus, which just knocked me over.
She's part of a new trend puzzling scientists. In most of us, HPV infections clear on their own with few symptoms. But there's an alarming increase of oral cancer linked to sexually transmitted HPV virus.
People think the face of oral cancer is a 70-year-old man who's been chewing tobacco and drinking whiskey all his life. The face of oral cancer now it's me, a young woman, healthy, non-smoking, fit.
In fact, researchers from Johns Hopkins recently reported that from 1973 to 2004, there was a near doubling of the incidence of HPV-related oral cancers among people in their 40s. Today, more than 34,000 people have oral cancer, and 39% of those cases are related to HPV. Head and neck surgeon Dr. Robert Haddad has seen it with his own eyes.
These are patients that are young, they are in their 30s and 40s, they are non-smokers, and they don't drink alcohol excessively. And every time we look, we are able to find HPV-16 in their tissue, in the biopsy specimen.
High-risk HPV strains cause cancer by using special proteins that disrupt healthy cells, make the cells both unable to repair themselves and control how much they duplicate. HPV is transmitted by direct contact, which means you only get the virus in the location it attaches, so it doesn't travel through the bloodstream from somewhere else. And how it gets in the mouth?
There is absolutely a link between oral sex and oral cancer.
And if that link is absolute, about another kind of contact, there's some question.
So we can't rule out that the virus could be transmitted in saliva by other types of contact. For instance, sharing a drink, sharing a spoon.
And once the virus is in your mouth, you can't just wash it out. The only way to get rid of it, extensive drug treatment. So who's at risk? It turns out men are 35% more likely than women to develop HPV-related oral cancer. But both men and women are susceptible. And scientists don't know yet whether sexual orientation factors in. But they do know the #1 risk factor is a high number of sexual partners. So straight or gay, the more partners, the more risk.
That doesn't mean that there's a magic number. Unfortunately, it really only takes exposure to one infected partner to actually acquire the infection.
You'd be hard-pressed to find anybody in this town who would say that I'm promiscuous, because I'm not.
Teresa Dillon, who after 6 months of grueling chemo is now in remission, says she has no idea how she contracted HPV. She just wants people to know that this is happening.
The risks associated with it don't get as much press as the risks that you hear about and can see with vaginal sex. You don't see somebody pregnant after oral sex.
I think it's obvious right now to really say that oral sex is not a safe way of having sex, and it could have consequences.
And we're going to bring in our ABC medical editor, Dr. Tim Johnson, right now. Tim, when you have double the increase of a kind of cancer in a generation, what's it saying to you?
Well, it's saying that something is causing that increase, and by far and away the most logical explanation would be oral sex, because we know that that's become more popular. among teens in particular, some surveys say that over 50% of teens have oral sex and that 80% of it is non-protected. So those are the two things coming together at the same time.
And what about having the virus? Are there symptoms if you have it? Should everybody now be tested, have saliva tested?
Well, unfortunately, there are no good screening tests such as saliva for the oral cavity. We can screen for HPV during a pap smear, for example, for cervical cancer, but we don't yet have easy screening tests. So you do have to pay attention to warning symptoms. A persistent sore throat, especially if it's accompanied by an enlarged lymph node. Men sometimes will feel that while they're shaving, and they'll write it off. That should be checked out. So a lump or a persistent sore throat or anything else that just doesn't feel right in the back of your throat, by all means get it checked out. And when you have any kind of annual physical or annual dental exam, insist that the doctor or dentist take a complete look at the back of the throat and the tonsils.
But there's no good screening test.
Not yet. I think it's coming. A lot of people are working on it, but we don't have it.
What about this possibility that was raised, which is truly terrifying, of course, that it could be transmitted through saliva, through using the same straw as somebody? Is that possible?
Well, we know it can be found in saliva, but so far there's not an evidence of an explosion that you might expect if it were easily transmitted that way, including by kissing. We just don't see that evidence yet, so there's a lot more study in that area. But so far, we don't have epidemics popping up suggesting that that's an easy way to transmit it.
So it's more likely that it's oral sex?
Absolutely.
Now, what about Gardasil, this vaccine that prevents the papilloma virus for cervical cancers?
It's only been approved, as you know, in young women for the prevention of cervical cancer. There's a lot of investigation right now to use it in young boys because they can get it and transmit it. And I think eventually we're going to be recommending it for the prevention of oral cancers, too. We're not there yet. We haven't proven that connection in terms of being able to prevent it with a vaccine, but my instinct says it's coming.
But as of this morning, the bottom line would be, I guess, the number of sexual partners matters, and that oral sex is not known to be risk-free anymore.
Oral sex should be safe sex also.
All right. Thanks so much, Tim Johnson. And stay tuned. We'll always try to follow up on this story because it is something new and newly determined out in the medical community.